We're very thankful that you dropped this nice nugget into the middle of the summer for us after the Olympics ended and, the Blue Jays are doing the Blue Jays things. It was like a gift from Brad Treliving in the Toronto Maple Leafs about the new announcement of the newest captain with Auston Matthews. So let's talk about where this change was sparked. I know you mentioned it today during the press conference, the conversation you had with John Tavares post the exit against the Boston Bruins. But can you walk us through a little bit where the dialogue began to eventually having Auston Matthews as the newest captain of the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on, guys. I don't know if it's a one thing, right? As something I was thinking about and we were thinking about internally here, and once the season ended, is you're always looking at ways that you can improve your team. And certainly no slight on John and the leadership he's provided, but more so as I've been here a year and I've had a chance to watch this team from afar for years, and obviously when we're talking about Auston, watched him as a young player, at the U.S. program and has as his career as he was drafted and came into the league and sort of how he's grown. And then, this past year, my first year here, I have a chance to sort of get behind the curtain and, watch all of our players. But it's just really been, the maturation of Auston and sort of where he has come, where he's at, and hopefully where he can continue to go. It was a conversation I started with John at the end of the year, feeling that this is the right time to, make this change. And like I said, it certainly is no slight on what John has done as the leader and the captain of our team. It's really a recognition of where Auston is at now, where the position he has within our team, within the game. And so those conversations started with John, and as we continue to discuss it, I think, as I said today, John really from the onset saw it the same way we did, and I thought today, as much as it was a celebration of Auston and him taking on this responsibility, I thought John couldn't be more gracious, and it was real. As I commented on, I couldn't be more thankful of how he's handled it through this process. It's not easy, it's not an easy process, but he was fully on board from the onset, and made for what I thought was a real smooth transition. And now we move forward. And like I said, tomorrow these guys don't wake up as different people. Auston, as we talk through this process, he doesn't have to change. It's a different responsibility. There's a weight to it, which he understands. But we think it's the right time for him based upon the person he is, the player he is, the leader he is. And John's not going to change. John's going to continue to be a real influential presence in our locker room. I think he's going to be a great support for Auston. But I just felt it was time that we made this change, and like I said, I couldn't be more happy for Auston and more thankful to John.
So whenever these ideas are discussed, Brad, mostly, I guess, on talk radio, the common refrain is, well, it's never easy to do that. How are you going to make that decision? How are you going to make it so that the egos don't get in the way? But the it's never easy thing didn't seem to apply here. Did these players make it easy for this to happen?
Yeah, they're never easy, but you're bang on, Justin, in terms of the individuals involved, right? Like the word that I kept coming back to is in my own mind, in my conversations with John, is just how selfless he is, right? At the end of the day, we've all got one goal in mind here. Making this change in the captaincy isn't the lightning rod that's just going to give us all the success we want. There's just you make different. You keep trying to hit singles in improving your team, but we've just felt it was the right time. But what made the transition easy, or what's going to make the transition easy, is just, both the individuals. John, like I said, John, as he commented on today, he loved being the captain. It's a responsibility that he took very seriously. He embraced it. I thought he handled the responsibilities that go with that role tremendously well. But he recognized, where Auston was at and felt this was the proper move. And so it makes it a lot easier. It's never easy having discussions that affect people, but when you're in a position of leadership, you have to look out for what you think is best for your organization. And like I said, I know, this is not a slight on anyone, especially John, but we felt it was the right move. But it certainly does make, it smoother and easier when John's able to sit back and process it and think about it and come to the same conclusion. So certainly it just speaks to the class of the individual, the professionalism of John, and ultimately he's got one goal in mind. It's not to be, what's best for John. It's what's best for the team, and how do we continue to, reach the goals that we all want to reach, and so it certainly made it smoother and easier, as you said, the way John was accepting.
Yeah, and John said it was a testament to the maturation of Auston Matthews as a player and as a leader. And I wonder, and although it's been a short time for you with the Toronto Maple Leafs, where have you seen Auston's elevation in his leadership skills? Obviously, his play speaks for itself, but to take on this role comes with a lot of responsibility, and that will be shared. But where do you see Auston has grown into the leader that you see now, and where you hope to take it as his contract continues to advance, and as he said, maybe to be a Leaf for life?
Yeah, Ailish, it's really, it's sort of an everyday thing for me that you watch and you observe. And to me, this role, it's not about knocking down the door and making big speeches and yelling and screaming. It's certain people just have that leadership ability. And, as John does, Auston does. He walks in a room, people gravitate to him. To me, you're authentic, but people follow you when you do the right things. And, being around him now, like I said, sort of behind the curtain, you see the preparation he puts on. I say that people get to see Auston, from 7 to 9:30 on game nights. We get to see him the other 22 hours a day. And the work that he puts into his craft, it's elite. The preparation he has, the way he strives to get better, the way he pushes teammates to be better, the ability that he sees a broad view in terms of what, he's just a tremendous teammate. He's sympathetic to individuals when they're going through difficult times. He understands everybody's situation. So it's just, and that ability for people are drawn to follow him. And, sometimes people just have that ability. It became really apparent to me really early that they see what he puts into his craft. They respect, the results that we see on the ice. Certainly there's a God-given talent that he has, but make no mistake, there's a ton of sweat equity that goes into it. He's as a committed athlete as I've been around. Like I said, people are drawn to him. People are drawn to follow him. And he's just got that ability. There's a charisma to him. And I just think it's the right time. And he's prepared. He's eager for this challenge. He's eager for the responsibility that goes with being a captain. And as we've talked a lot, this is not, we don't need him to change. We don't need him to be something different. We need him to be who he is. And certainly he'll learn as he goes along this path. we're fortunate, like I said, to have John by his side and other great leaders in our team. And, this isn't just a responsibility to put on one person's shoulders and say, okay, now you got to go be all to everyone. He's got a great support group around him, and he'll lean on them. But he's got that it factor that people want to follow his lead.
We're on the phone with General Manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brad Treliving. Okay, so you have some real honest conversations with John Tavares this summer, clearly. And John Tavares is eligible to sign an extension. Now, how much of those conversations, focused or got to his future? I mean, one thing was very clear here with his statement is that he still believes he's got a lot to offer, and I'm sure you guys believe he has a lot to offer this team from an on-ice perspective. Have you gained some clarity with regards to his future? Has he gained some clarity with regards to his future? And, will we be waiting to the end of the season to get more information as it pertains to John Tavares' future?
I guess that's a long way of saying, have we had any contract discussions with John?
That was a long way of saying. I'm still working on working on brevity, Brad.
You know what? Those are things that will, as I do with any discussion as it relates to contractual status, those will remain behind closed doors. And these discussions that we had with respect to the captaincy is independent of any discussions we will have or may have with respect to contract negotiations. I think John still has a lot of hockey left in him, a lot of good hockey. And, like I said, those things will remain private. I'm a big believer in John as a player and as a person. But our focus over the course of the last little while here was working through the process of what we announced here today. And, like I said, it was a real good day. John is just a consummate pro. And with respect to any contract stuff, that will remain private between John, myself as representative, and we'll address that at the appropriate time.
It depends on who you ask, but a lot of people believe that, hey, maybe the captain is sort of a trivial thing. I tend to disagree with that, and this might be a center of the universe thing, but I'll ask you this way. Does the captaincy matter the most in Toronto?
Well, I don't know if it matters the most, but there's certainly, listen, the uniqueness of this market, obviously the tradition of this team, the following of this team, I think it's a great responsibility. And I think the captaincy is not something that we should, of any team. I don't think it's anything that should be taken lightly. I also don't think it's something that should be overblown in terms of, as I said earlier, all the responsibility for success or failure falls on one individual. I don't believe that. But there is a responsibility that goes with it. And certainly when you talk about being the captain of this team, the media following that we have, the fan following we have, the passion in the marketplace for this team, I think there's certainly some greater challenges, some responsibility, some time commitments as it relates to media and so forth outside of the locker room. Inside the locker room, there's there's a responsibility, whether it's in Toronto or anywhere, that you're a captain of the responsibility of being ultimately at the front of the bus in terms of looking after your teammates, communicating, whether it be to Craig, myself, on getting a gauge of the group, where things are at. I think Auston will, he's developing as he has over the course of the summer relationship with Craig. They talk a lot, and that will just increase as we get closer to camp and through the season. So there is, I certainly am one that doesn't diminish the role of the captain. I think it's important. You have to have the right individual there, but certainly, I think it's an important role in every organization, in any organization. But there's certainly like I said, some added responsibility just with the market that we're in here in Toronto, and you need to have the right personality and the right person that recognizes the role, as John did. And as I said, he took the role and responsibility to heart and very seriously, and I know Auston will do the same.
Brad, last one for you. Appreciate your time today. It's been about 14-ish months of your tenure as general manager for the Maple Leafs. So it's been a pretty busy one. New head coach, a new captain, a new president of MLSE to work with, lots of extensions, trades, et cetera. Did you imagine this inaugural stretch for you in this role to be so reconstructive and to be working on so many massive pieces? And is there anything left that you want to accomplish over this next little stretch before the season begins?
I would say it's exactly as I anticipated. I knew coming into the job, when you talk, there's so many different facets to the job. When you look at, some of the work that we've gotten done with contract extensions, I knew where, players were at in terms of their contractual situations that we've dealt with. I think it's the job, right? It's there's always work to be done, and we're certainly, not where we want to be in terms of, how our season finished. So we've got work to do. And, in terms of, so I think it's exactly what I envisioned it would be. It's been, I think you imagine coming into this role in this market. It's exceeded anything I thought in terms of just, the passion of the city, the passion of this fan base. It motivates you every day to deliver a product that our fans deserve, and that's what drives us every day. As far as preparing for the season, we still got to look at the calendar today. What, every 5 weeks or so from training camp? I don't think you're ever a finished product. So we continue to look at, as I said, at the end of the season, we continue to look at any way that we can make our team better. And that's what we try to do over the course of the season. Sometimes people are eagerly awaiting the big splash, the big home run. And sometimes those things happen. But I look at it of whether it's big or small, how can we make the team better today? And that's what we'll continue to do. We'll continue to look at some things. I think we've made some changes, whether it be to our coaching staff, our defense. I think our depth is better today than it was at the end of the season. We've got some young players that, I think for the first time in a while in this team are really pushing. Some guys that were with our team last year that are evolving as young pros. We've got some coming. And we're going to continue to look at ways that we can tweak the roster here before training camp. And then as we get into camp and into the season, the job of the manager is to look every day how you can make the team better. And that's what we continue to do, whether it be before camp or as we get into camp. So it's been beyond, like I said, in some ways I knew what to expect, but it's probably been beyond what my expectations were, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, I think this week signaled the call back to work for a lot of writers in the city and a lot of us getting back into the swing of things. So we appreciate you kicking us into high gear, Brad, and enjoy the rest of August. And we'll be seeing you around the rinks, I'm sure, pretty soon. So thanks so much for your time today.
You bet. Thanks for having me on. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you soon.